Over time, however, something strange began to happen. The actual terror that we faced began to lessen in intensity as we gain increasing control over our environment. But instead of our fear lessening as well, they began to multiply in number. We started to worry about our status in society, whether people like us or how we fit into the group. We became anxious for our livelihood, the future of our families and children, our personal health, and the aging process. Instead of a simple, intense fear of something powerful and real, we developed a kind of generalized anxiety. It was as if the thousands of years of feeling fear in the face of nature could not go away, and we had to find something at which to direct our anxiety, no matter how small or improbable. In the evolution of fear, a decisive moment occurred in the 19th century when people in advertising and journalism discovered that if they framed their stories and appeal with fear, they could capture our attention. It is that our emotion we find hard to resist or control, and so they constantly shifted our focus to a new possible source of anxiety, the latest healthcare scare, a new crime wave, and the social fucks that we might be committing, and endless hazards in the environment of which we were not aware. With the increasing sophistication of the media and a visceral quality of the imagery, they have been able to give us feeling that we are fragile creatures in an environment full of danger. Even though we live in the world infinitely safe and more predictable than anything our ancestors knew, with their help, our anxieties have only increased. Fear is not designed for such a purpose. Its function is to stimulate powerful physical response, allowing an animal to retreat in time after even it is supposed to go away. An animal that cannot let go of its fear once the threat is gone will find it hard to eat and sleep. We are the animal that cannot get rid of its fear, and when so many of them lay inside of us, these fears tend to color how we view the world. We shift from a feeling fear because of some threat to having a fearful attitude towards life, and we come to see almost everything, every event in terms of risk. We exaggerate the danger and our vulnerability. We instantly focus on the adversity that is always possible. We are generally unaware of the phenomena because we accept it as normal. In times of propensity, we have the luxury of fretting our big things, but in times of trouble, this fear attitude become particularly pernicious. Such moments are when we need to solve problem, deal with the reality, and move forward. The fear is a call of retreat and retrench. This is precisely what Franklin Delano Roosevelt confronted when he took office in 1933. The Great Depression that had begun with the stock market crash of 1920 down now was now at its worst. But what stuck Roosevelt was not the actual economic factor, but the mood of the public. It seems to the people that we are not only more fearful than necessary, but the fear were making it harder to surmount adversity. In his inaugural address to the country, he had that we would not ignore such obvious realities as the collapse of the economy, and that he would not preach a naive optimism, but in his implorable but he implored his listener to remember that the country had faced worse things in its past periods, such as civil war, and had brought us out of such moments was our pioneer spirit, our determination and resolve. This is what it means to be an American. Fear creates its own self-fulfilling dynamics as the people give it into it. They lose energy and momentum. Their lack of confidence translates into inaction that lowers confidence level even further, and so on. So first of all, he hold the audience. Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, namely unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyze needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. What Roosevelt sketched out in his speech is the knife edge that separates failure from success in life. That edge is your attitude with the power to help shape our reality. If you view everything through the lens of fear, then you tend to stay in retreat mood. You can just as easily see in crisis of the problem as a challenge, an opportunity to prove your mettle, the chance to strengthen tough yourself and call to collective action. By seeing it as a challenge, you will have converted this negative into the positive purely by mental process that will result in positive action as well. And in fact, though his inspiring leadership, FDR was able to help the country shift its mindset and confront the depression with more of enterprising spirit. Today, we see to face new problem and crisis that rest our national matter. But just as FDR made the comparison to even worse time in the past, we can say that what we are facing is not bad as peril of 1930s and subsequent warriors. In fact, the reality of 21st century America is something more like the following: our physical environment is safer and more secure than any other moment in our history. We live in the most prosperous country in the world. In the past, only white males could play the power game. Now, millions upon millions of the minorities and the women have been given entrance to the arena, forever altering dynamics, making us more socially advanced country in that regard. Advanced in technology and have opened up all kinds of new opportunities. Old business models are dissolving, leaving the field wide open for innovation. It is a time of sweeping change and resolution. We face certain challenges as well. The world has become more competitive. The economy has undeniably vulnerabilities and in the need of reinvention. As in all situations, the determining factor will be our attitude and how we choose to look at this reality. If you give into the fear, we will give disproportionate attention to the negative and manufacture the very adverse circumstances that we deal. If we go the opposite direction, cultivating the fearless approach to the life, attacking everything with boldness and energy, then we will create a much different dynamics. Understand, we are all too afraid of offending people, uh, of stirring up conflict and standing out from the crowd, of taking bold actions. For thousands of years, our relations to this emotion has evolved for the primitive fear of the nature to generalized anxiety about the fear and to the fearful attitude of that now dominates. Rational, productive adults, we are called upon to finally overcome this a downward trend to evolve beyond our fears.